Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to have you here today, be able to see all your beautiful faces. And we are going to read a special book that I wrote. We are so excited to be together on Martin Luther King Day. And Martin Luther King was just an amazing man who really stood for peace and love and justice. Raise your hands if you love peace, love, and justice. Yay! So I'm going to read one of my books to you, and then we'll open it up to questions and things that you might be thinking about. So right now we'll start with Vitamin D and Me, How Humans Outsmarted the Sun. A very long time ago, all human beings lived in Africa. This was the first place we had ever known. Human beings of all shapes and sizes lived together on the continent of Africa. And we had shades of dark brown skin and tight curly hair. Our dark skin color and hair texture helped to protect us from the sun's rays that shined across Africa, especially near the equator. Having a lot of melanin, that's the pigment that gives color to our skin, was an advantage because it kept the strong sun rays from burning our skin and damaging our cells underneath. But more importantly, our bodies could absorb the needed amount of sunlight to stay healthy. Human beings lived in Africa for a very long time. Some humans decided to explore other lands and left Africa, following the animals and walking and looking for new resources. Over many years, humans walked to distant lands that were different from Africa. The climates were different too. In these new lands, the sun's rays were not as strong. This meant that less of the sun's rays could enter through our dark skin as they did in Africa, and our bodies started to work differently. In Africa, our body made vitamin D from the strong sun rays that entered through our dark skin. But in these new lands, the weaker sun's rays couldn't enter our skin as well, and our body wasn't able to make enough vitamin D that we needed to survive. Human beings adapted and outsmarted the sun. Over thousands of years, humans living in areas where the sun's rays were less intense were born with less melanin. Remember, the color of your skin is the amount of melanin that you have. This evolution of lighter skin color in these new lands were naturally selected in order to be healthy. Nature selected less curly hair too, and in most areas, which allowed more of the sun's rays to absorb into your scalp. Human beings who stayed in Africa and lived where the sun's rays were strong remained with shades of dark brown skin and were born with more melanin. Today, We live all over the world with our many different shades of skin color. And this is because humans outsmarted the sun a long time ago. Look at the color of your skin, and we'll use the map and we'll think about where you would have lived if you lived thousands of years ago. Did you come from human beings who stayed in Africa, or from the human beings who moved where the sun's rays were not as strong? Is your skin a combination of colors from all of your family who have come from many places? These are the many questions that we want to talk about now about my book.
Yep. Why does our skin color change a little in the summer?
Yes, very good question. So if we are lightly pigmented, right, meaning if we have a little bit of melanin or maybe brown, light brown skin, when we are in the sun's rays, again, if we are not darkly pigmented, if we don't have a lot of melanin to protect us from the sun, then our skin actually produces melanin, which means it adds melanin, it creates melanin. So when that sun comes down and touches our skin, our body says, oh, wow, I want to protect you, and I'm going to add melanin to you. And that is why our skin turns darker, is because we actually increase our melanin. But with our brothers and sisters who already have a lot of melanin and have dark skin, they don't have to create as much melanin as fast. They still do. Even if you have dark skin, you still have to be careful of that sun because it does want to burn you. But if you have a little bit of melanin, you have to be really careful. And so sometimes your body will try to create more melanin, but unfortunately the sun, being really powerful, can burn your skin. And so sometimes your mom and dad might put on some lotion or might put on a shirt if you are lightly pigmented, if you don't have a lot of skin, a lot of melanin. So yeah, it's really, really interesting. Can we talk a little bit about what MLK Day is and why we celebrate it? Absolutely. Martin Luther King was a man with a lot of melanin. He was a darkly pigmented man who saw in our world that things were not as fair. And it bothered him. Does anybody ever feel like that? If maybe you weren't treated fairly or things were happening that just weren't very nice or maybe not as peaceful? I'm sure a lot of us feel like that sometimes, right? If things aren't being treated, people aren't being treated fairly. And Martin Luther King was a man that stood up for that. And he stood up for the peace and love of all people. He knew that all of us, no matter what color our skin is, no matter what texture our hair is, no matter what religion that we believe or don't believe, that we are all brothers and sisters. And so he spread that message. He spread that message of fairness, of love, and of justice. He wanted everybody to be treated fairly. Does everyone think that's a good thing? We all need to be like Martin Luther King. We all need to do our part in our families, with our brothers and sisters, with our friends, with our cousins, with our teachers, with people that are important to us, our neighbors and friends, to always be in community with each other, peaceful, say nice things to each other. Make sure that if you see someone not being treated fairly, that you speak up you speak up and say, that's not fair. And I want everyone to be treated fairly, especially if you see people being treated unfairly because of the difference of color of their skin. That just isn't right. And we as adults want to make sure that we share with your children that we definitely want peace and love and justice for all of you to live in a world that is fair, so you can be your authentic self every single day. You can show up in the world how you want to be and how you love yourself for that to be accepted. And that's what Dr. Martin Luther King wants for each and every one of us, to be able to live in a world where we can be our authentic selves and be whoever we want to be and do what we want to do in love and in peace and in justice for each other. So always remember to, be fair and to treat people nicely, and you will be sharing that same legacy as Dr. Martin Luther King did.